In the space of 48 hours last week, the President of the United States called the Pope weak on crime. He posted an AI image of himself in white robes, glowing hands, healing a sick man, eagles, soldiers, a Lincoln Memorial in the background. He deleted it the next morning, and when asked about it, he said he thought it depicted him as a Red Cross doctor. Leo, boarding a flight to Algeria, was asked about the platform that hosted the attack. He noted that it's called Truth Social, and then he said, "Say no more." Now, every commentator in the English-speaking world, like just check your YouTube front page, it's unreal. Everybody has weighed in on this. I don't think there's a single Catholic commentator on YouTube that has not addressed this. And I think some are missing some of the key points, and maybe some of them are missing them deliberately. So we're going to try to remedy that. And tonight we're going to do something different. We're going to be fair to everyone and honest with everyone, including about our own position, bluntly. And, you're welcome to disagree, because this is one of these things, if it's not a defeat a position, I mean, obviously, blasphemous images, we're all going to agree that that's bad. But this is a more complicated story than I think some people are sorting. We're going to talk maybe a little bit about the psychology of that, because there's a lot of people on the conservative side of things that feel betrayed, and it's a mess. But we'll get into that. This isn't primarily a story about Trump and Leo. This is a story about two visions of where the world's going, and two visions of civilization, and a circus that I'm not sure how much each of these men are aware they're performing in. So let's get into it. So first, the facts. We're all working from the same reality. For months, Leo XIV, the first American-born Pope, elected in May 2025, had been increasingly vocal about the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. He hadn't named Trump directly, but he had said that God does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war. And, how do you explain Joshua or the Albigensian Crusade? But I digress. Anyway, he called Trump's threat to destroy Iranian civilization totally unacceptable. He organized a prayer vigil at St. Peter's on the day that the U.S.-Iran peace talks were happening in Islamabad. And that's a good thing for a pope or any church leader to do, I think. So on Saturday, April 12th, at that vigil, that's when the first started flying. Leo said, "Enough of the idolatry of self and money, enough of the display of power, enough of war. True strength is shown in serving life." And it was almost like Nancy Pelosi was giving talking points. That's the optic. I know that's probably not the intent. And the problem is that in any kind of conflict like this, it's a very complicated affair. That what Iran has been doing since the 1970s, my goodness, that's not that long ago historically. There's a lot of shenanigans, and it's not simply the ego of a president, whether you like him or not, that caused all of this mess. And so the thing is that, he said these things, and it's very obviously that he was referring to a person. So he says true strength is shown in serving life, and I couldn't agree with Leo more. But true strength is also shown in keeping nukes from the control of a death cult as well. So, like I say, it's a little more complicated when we get into the weeds on this stuff. We're certainly going to talk about what isn't complicated in a moment. And there's a legitimate difference of opinion between you and me, perhaps, on how imminent that danger was. Now, keep in mind that neither you or I nor Leo have access to the information that the President and the Secretary of War have. And also, when people say, "Oh, well, it was an imminent threat," like there's a philosopher I follow on Twitter, he's very, very wise, and he has been against this, violates just war from the beginning. And again, on paper, he's completely correct. I couldn't disagree with anything he said, but the problem was, look at North Korea, look at Pakistan. They are nuclear powers now because we didn't act when we could have. And so it's complicated, and we're not going to solve that tonight. But that night, when I guess Trump must have got a briefing about it, so the president posted a 300-word Truth Social post, and I'm going to give you the quick highlights. He said Leo is weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. He claimed that Leo thinks it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, which Leo never said, although it's how the president interpreted his comments, likely that brought him to that. And he said, I don't want a pope who criticizes the president of the United States. Actually, that's good that he's at least acknowledging the role, right? If you think of it. And he says he doesn't want a pope that criticizes the president of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected in a landslide to do. Now, there's a lot in there. There's a lot that's very revealing in there. I mean, sometimes, people presume that the president's idea of Christianity is like a typical Presbyterian or a Catholic. It's not a normative Christianity at all. So, if anything, I would say he's an Americanist. So Leo the 13th talked about a heresy called Americanism. And it's not exactly that either, but there's a little bit of that in it. And I think he sees honor and love of God as part of duty of being a good American. It's kind of reverse of how most Catholics look at it. So that explains some of the hurt and reaction, I think, in terms of, I guess, the psychology that we're looking at here, or the choices. And so he's appealing to the authority of the people that elected him. So, of course, people of faith, we don't appeal to that. We appeal to God, right? So it's a very telling insight. So, and I really think he was struck by that idolatry of self. I don't think he's that self-unaware that he doesn't know that he's a proud man. But I think he sees it in his context as his presidency that he's serving America. So again, we can agree to disagree whether he's doing a good job or whatever. I'm just saying I think that's what motivates him in the morning when he gets up. So the president sees himself as a servant of the old America, not the new America, the older America. And I understand a little bit because I serve the old faith. I don't serve the new faith. And so I think the president sees himself as a servant of the old America and her people. So then he claimed that Leo wasn't on any list to be pope, that he was only elected because he was an American, and that they thought the best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump was with Leo. And you know what's funny? It's probably partly true in the sense it was probably not a conscious choice amongst the cardinals. But he went on to say, if I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. It's just kind of a funny thing to bring up. I mean, it's probably partially true. It's hard to know because we don't know the motivations. Some say that if it wasn't for President Obama and Vice President at the time, Biden, Benedict wouldn't have resigned office. But those charges are unproven. Still, it's part of the, narratives of explanation of what went on with Benedict's resignation. So whether we like it or not, emperors and presidents and queens and kings have been messing around with the papacy since Constantine, at least interacting with it. And then this is kind of funny. You guys probably would find this funny too. He added that he prefers the Pope's brother, Louis. Louis is all mega. He gets it, and Leo doesn't. And for those of us who are of the non-leftist bent, we'd probably prefer the company of Louis too, to be fair. Hi, Louis, if you're out there. I know you're watching Escaping McReligion, but if you are, yeah, I think it would be, and I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, right? But anyway, so that same night, Lord have mercy on us all. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Seriously, when I saw all this stuff kick off on a Monday, I try to make a day off. It never works out. I end up taking a half day later in the week. And oh my goodness, I thought it was just like AI or people were mocking Trump. And I didn't realize that he actually posted this stuff. And it was wild looking at just the deluge of the stuff on Twitter on both sides. And so when the president posted an AI image, and it definitely looks like, he's dressed in robes similar to our Lord or one of the apostles or something. And then he later claimed to depict him as a Red Cross doctor. What I actually think happened, I mean, that might have been what he looked at. You remember, again, I'm not excusing it. I'm not excusing it at any point a blasphemous image. What I'm saying is that there might be more to the story. I doubt very much that the president made the prompt, right? It was probably someone, he posted it, but he probably has someone that does these little images and these little jokes and all this kind of stuff. And it was someone with bad taste. And, the people that are devoted to President Trump see him as saving America. and they obviously weren't religious in any kind of educated way because they didn't recognize it as blasphemy, and he didn't, because he's not religious in the way that most of you watching this or me am. He doesn't get it. You could spin it as, oh well, I'm imitating as our Lord did or whatever, but we know that's not the case. He basically was careless. He saw an image where he's doing great things and there's all this power and might behind him, and put himself in that place. And it was a very unfortunate place to put him in. So, because of course people leapt right to that he's imitating Jesus. Who knows? Maybe the AI person had him thinking that he was, depicting a saint or something. But regardless, it was in very bad taste, and he should at least he should apologize for that. That if people were offended in that, that's. But it's not his nature to, and I kind of understand why he doesn't. I think he probably does regret it. The issue is that the left has trained us. Like, I rarely apologize to anybody I don't know. All right. And I feel bad for that in a way, because sometimes I do screw up and I should apologize, right? But the problem is the left weaponizes the apologies against you. So it's sort of a habit with him. He doesn't apologize, but in this case, offending God, you should get over that one and just do it. You're not apologizing to the left. You're apologizing publicly to our Lord, even if it wasn't your intent. And we sometimes do things that hurt others. That's not our intent. So the thing is that he did delete it, and there was a huge outcry, including Christians across the spectrum: liberal, conservative, traditional, and and this was just only a week after he had this big hyperbolic threat to destroy an entire civilization, which of course Leo called out too, and rightly so. You don't have me agree with postmodern church leaders too often, but I'll tell you, no, Leo was right there. So then Monday morning, Leo was boarding a plane to Algeria, and reporters asked him about all of it, and he says, "I have no fear of the Trump administration." Well, why would he? I don't know. Did Benedict have fear of the Biden and Obama, or excuse me, the Obama administration? I don't know, but we aren't in the business. No country wants the church to have fear of them. It's counterproductive. And I don't know what the relationship is with China and the Vatican. That's an interesting thing. Maybe there's fear of them, but I certainly do believe, I take Leo at his word when he says he has no fear of the Trump administration. And he says, "We're speaking out loudly the message of the gospel," and nor should he. That's his job. Just as the president should have no fear of religious leaders that he feels is impeding the good of his people. And sometimes you're going to agree to disagree. I'm sure Constantine and the popes of his day, and Charlemagne, and certainly with the selection of Pius X as pope, that was the last time, I believe, an emperor interfered in a papal election. So those of you who like history, go look up about the emperor's intervention, so that we had Giuseppe Sarto named Pius X, who of course became a great saint. So Leo continues. He says he has no intention of entering into a debate with Donald Trump. He says the gospel should not be abused in the way that some people are doing. And I couldn't agree more, but in fairness, those of us who are traditional would say to Leo with great respect that, Sir, Holiness, we would say that you do this. So, but again, it's not for a political leader to, this wasn't on the basis of theology. The point of the matter is, it is Leo's job to be a representative of the gospel which he bears. Our Lord gave us the faith, and we should, every clergy from the lowliest to the highest, should bear that gospel in the manner that the saints and the councils have taught us it means. So when he was asked about the Truth Social, he just says, "It's ironic. The name of the site itself, Say No More." And, I don't know, that's a little bit of a jab there, but I mean, the two of them, that's what they're doing. I guess we can all get into that when there's a little bit of a rivalry. So that's the event. Now let's talk about what it means. Let's talk about where both are right and both are wrong, and we'll perhaps have a little fur flying tonight. I don't know if Felix or any of you are chomping at the bit to jump in here, but we'll be finished the presentation in a moment, and we'll get your thoughts. And by all means, you can tell me I'm completely off base. You can also tell me if we bring up some stuff that you might not have considered. So, and I'm going to lose some of you here because I'm going to tell you what President Trump, despite the AI image, which was very unfortunate, and despite his appalling tone about eliminating civilizations, actually gets some things right. So, and because he does, and we can't be honest about this situation if we're not honest about that, and it's a mess. My notes for this, I was telling Norm in the chat before we started, I was going to have a downloadable set of notes. If you want that, put it in the comments below, because the work is done. I just got to format it a little bit. But it's like 17 pages. I was trying to make sense out of all the different angles about what everybody has been saying. So I took it seriously in the preparation, and it just, like I say, it was such a volume. I didn't get all the formatting done. But let me give you some context that some of you are aware of, like some of you are really keen into church news and you know all this stuff already, but some of you, this will be news to you. So first of all, we could call this, I'm going to give you 3 points. So the first point, where Trump has a legitimate growl, and it gives you some context why he's a little snarky with Leo, is the Cardinal Caucus, we can call them. And basically 3 American cardinals. And if you're traditional, these guys are like a rogues gallery, right? 3 American cardinals, McElroy, Tobin, and Supich. I'm only going to say those words once. I don't want anything manifesting in your living room. So they appeared on CBS 60 Minutes in April to deliver a sustained critique of Trump and of his immigration and of the Iran war. And it was just like, perfectly staged, perfectly timed. Cardinal McElroy declared the Iran war was not a just war under Catholic teaching. Cardinal Tobin had previously described ICE as a lawless organization. And Cardinal Supich, the Archbishop of Chicago, had been caught up in the controversy over honoring Senator Dick Durbin, one of the Senate's most fervent advocates for abortion to birth, at an archdiocesan event. And the defense? That Durbin's work on immigration. The optic is that they're in the pocket of the Democrat Party and certainly share their values. Now, I want to be careful here, because cardinals have the right and sometimes the duty to speak on war, justice, human dignity, to call out politicians who are not following things. It's funny to me. They all crap on a conservative politician who's not even Catholic, who they only have limited authority over, but they never call to account their own crappy politicians who don't believe a word of what's in their own catechism. They don't get on 60 Minutes for that now, do they? Right? Oh, I'll give Joe Biden communion, Nancy Pelosi communion, even though their own teaching of the church tells them not to. But some animals are more equal than others, as Orwell tells us. So the problem, folks, is the pattern. These men are thunderous. Oh, we hear all over these great courageous cardinals when the issue is immigration or open borders or the Iran war. And they're almost entirely silent when the issue is Democrat Catholic politicians who campaign on abortion to birth, the seamless garment, the moral equivalence framework that says abortion is just one concern among many. It's been quietly resurrected to protect the left's Catholic credentials while disciplining and mocking the right. That's not Catholic moral theology, it's a political theology. And the faithful have noticed, no one is fooled these days that doesn't choose to be. What de facto happens, and you and I are susceptible to it too, is we kind of tribe. We listen more intently to people we trust, right? There's certain people on Substack, I read everything they write. There's others that I skim because I trust some over another, and we only have limited time. You do it, I do it, and sometimes it gives us blind spots that we have to at least be aware of and hopefully make allowance for. Point 2, David Axelrod. So to some of you, you know who that name is. The others, you're going, who's that? He. So this one is documented. It's not alleged. It's not speculated. It is completely documented and admitted to. The Vatican's own official public bulletin, the Bollettino della Santa Sede, lists David Axelrod among Pope Leo's private audiences on April 9th. David Axelrod is Barack Obama's chief presidential strategist. He's not even Catholic. One of the Democratic Party's most powerful political operatives. And as I said, he's not Catholic, but he, like Saul Alinsky, if you don't know who that name is, you look it up and you look at who he dedicated his book to. And Saul Alinsky used to have regular audiences with Paul VI. And these men who are not of our faith find the church of use for their purposes and their grand schemes. David Axelrod is in there trotting out his Democrat deity in a private audience, while SSPX, the victims of unbridled migration, are ignored. I posted about this on X. My question was simple. Why don't we ask David Axelrod? Since he can get an audience with Leo, but SSPX and the other trad Christians can't? The answer is Leo welcomes his own. He even jokes about his conservative brother. So it's not a secret where his heart lies. And it isn't the restoration of America. But to be fair, that's not his job. He is to represent our Lord's guidance for the whole world and to all nations. And that's hard to see when political operatives are openly in your office. And it does raise to mind what kind of exchange is made here. What's going on? Point 3, the two swords tradition is real. So traditional Catholic ecclesiology has something called the two swords doctrine. It distinguishes between the spiritual and temporal spheres of authority. The church holds the spiritual sword. The lay temporal authority, the emperor typically, in this case the president, holds the temporal sword. They are distinct. They are not the same. They're also not a strict separation as Americans often think of it. The concrete application of moral principles to specific policy decisions, such as the conduct of a war. Because remember, the religious authority does not have all the information. Neither do you, neither do I. The terms of a ceasefire, how to manage a border, it belongs to the temporal authority, not the clergy, not even the Pope. The Novus Ordo Catechism of the 1990s states in paragraph around 2309, quite simply, that the evaluation of the conditions for moral legitimacy of a just war belongs to prudential judgment of those with the responsibility for the common good. If there is no deceit involved with regard to the danger of the nuclear factor, then Trump is acting on behalf of the world with information that Leo doesn't have. And that may or may not be the case. We all remember the first Gulf War, where are these weapons of mass destruction? And to be fair, there was some evidence, some trace, but they were never found, which makes people wonder, well, was it all just a ruse to get us into another war? And a lot of us think, yeah, probably. So, by Catholic teaching, a lot of these decisions about this war are Trump's to make, not Leo's. Now, Leo can pray for peace, and he did, and he's right to do so. But there is a time, as Scripture teaches, a time for peace and a time for war. So Leo has the right to articulate the moral principles, and so he should. But you know what? Had they both been a little bit more respectful to one another, they would listen to one another. This is so frustrating. It's like watching two kids. They're one gets offended, so they say something passive aggressive, and then the other one slams you in the head with a nasty post. And the thing is, that's not helping. If Leo wants to influence the emperor, then you don't have to kiss his butt. You just have to be straight with him and just say, like, at least acknowledge what he's trying to do, even if you disagree with it. But that's not how he rolls. And that's fine. Listen, you and I have different ways of conflict resolution. If I was in Trump's place, if I was in Leo's place, I would handle this totally different. You probably would too, because we're different people. But the thing is that Leo does not have the right nor the competence to tell a military superpower the specific terms under which it may or may not use force. It's not competent authority. Just like President Trump does not have the authority to determine when life begins or when or how many persons in the Trinity there are. T.S. Flanders at 1 Peter 5, some of you know that internet publication and Twitter account, put it this way. He said, Trump is reestablishing the rights of lay rulers to govern their own jurisdiction clumsily, impiously, but correctly. Now let's be equally honest about the other side. So Leo XIV's anti-war position is not a sole, post-1960s liberal innovation. Though war was sometimes even encouraged by the church for various reasons in its whole 2,000-year history, for the past century in particular, even before Vatican II, there was a trend towards pacifism. And in part, it's because the weapons of war became far more terrible, and certainly after World War II. But the thing is that a complete philosophy of pacifism is not always a good thing, because it can escalate and, it can be much worse. Rather, it's sort of like they say, a stitch in time saves nine. Sometimes a small military intervention early saves the cost of millions of lives later. So Benedict XV during World War I exhorted to pacifism, Pius XI, and the teachings of Vatican II, for those of you inclined to read those. And the specific things that Trump claimed that Leo said, he said that Leo thinks that Iran should have nuclear weapons. He said Leo soft on crime. Neither claim is clearly true. Leo is soft on what we would call criminal migrants, but I haven't seen him soft on crime otherwise. I don't think it's accurate to say that he's soft on crime. The only thing I can think Trump was getting at there, it has to be immigration. So then we'd have to ask Leo where he thinks the line is about allowing a religion that believes their nuke could bring their Messiah, which is the case of Iran. Some of you will remember this if you're my age or a little younger or a little older even. But there was a president. He was a very quirky guy during the time of George Bush the second, the young Bush, and he was a very what was his name? Aminejad, I believe his name was, and he got up in front of the UN and said very clearly that he was going to provoke a global conflict, and that Iran must have a nuclear weapon, and that he was going to do all this because that was how his Mahdi or whatever was going to come back. So it's in their teaching, or at least in Aminejad's teaching. It might not be in the common person from Iran, but you have that segment in their government that they publicly said it at the UN. You can probably even look up the speech if you were so inclined, and you'll see what they teach openly, why they need this material. And for people that say, oh, well, it wasn't close, it doesn't meet just war. Well, excuse me, you don't have the information to know that, point one. And point two, look at Pakistan, look at North Korea. Their nuke programs, there was nothing we could do. We didn't stop it in time. So they didn't want to have another repeat, especially with a country that literally wants to start such a war for their Messiah. So the thing is, and in fairness, though, to Leo has never said Iran should have those nuke weapons. His position is against war as such, which is where we generally want our popes to teach, isn't it? Though also allowing for liberation of victims of oppression, and that's like there is legitimate uses of force. And apparently the regime just killed like 45,000 people, or unalived, I should say, because it's YouTube. They hurt their own people. So I haven't heard too many people other than Persians, expat Persians, that want that liberation. But it's funny, neither side, either on the church or on the Trump supporter side, have really been pushing the idea that some of these people need our help. So anyway, we can talk about that after if you'd like. So Leo's own words on the plane were for the most part precise and dignified. You could argue maybe some of his other stuff was a little, I think he was trying to be polite. So we are not politicians, he says. We do not look at foreign policy from the same perspective that we have, that he may have. But I believe it's in the message of the gospel as a peacemaker. In that message, he's right. Blessed are the peacemakers is not just a policy position, it's a beatitude. It is the church's permanent posture towards power, where possible. Again, there are times when force is necessary. Most people agree that we need to do something in World War II. So most people, even if they incline towards pacifism, would agree that in that case, we did have to rise up. So the church has said, discourage war to every ruler from, since Constantine. And this Caesar in Trump is not exempt. So I'll say this directly. Trump's rhetoric about destroying an entire civilization about a week ago, whatever the intent, and I know he's hyperbolic, that language is very misplaced. So I understand, again, it's kind of his communication style, art of the deal, make my point understood. But the problem is that there's a really poor choice of words because those words are now used against him. And Leo was right to call it truly unacceptable. So let's get into Trump's errors. The AI Jesus image, it can't be waved away. Again, we can debate culpability. There's no way we know. We're just having an opinion. We don't know what's in his head. His spiritual formation has largely been provided by the prosperity gospel tradition, and that's like Ted Cruz and Huckabee kind of style, and that's just very foreign. For most of you who are watching this are going to be of Catholic or similar background, and it's just something that's very foreign to us unless we have it in our family. I think my theory, and you guys let me know when we're done in the segment, whether you think I'm onto something or not. I think the closest thing that I can sort of map to what I've seen with him is what Leo the 13th called Americanism, and it's an unfortunately named heresy in the sense that it's people think that Leo was mad at Americans. No, it's about a particular type of interpretation of the priority of church and state. So I do believe, and some of you may disagree, I believe that he believes in America, the old America. And in a sense, God is just part of that duty. And that's where some of the mismatch, we're expecting him to think like Catholics, or we're expecting him to think like a Baptist. He's not going to. He doesn't have that background. Now, the fourth commandment, which grounds the virtue of piety, requires reverence for legitimate authority in its proper sphere. So even a temporal ruler who profoundly disagrees with a religious leader, in particular the Vicar of Christ, as many acknowledge him to be, and so forth, if you disagree with his political judgments, you should probably choose your words a little bit more carefully. And both of them, I kind of want to growl at both of them, because I really think they'd be better off sitting down and being respectful to one another and just make your point clear. I think there's lots of things they're not going to agree on, but this isn't helpful to anybody. Well, except David Axelrod. I mean, those guys are laughing their butts off. They got the conservative movement all split right now. You got Nick Fuentes going off, and you've got Tucker Carlson doing one thing, and you've got all these people all upset. And if they can take those midterms, then the key blocks of the restoration will be destroyed, and that's what the left wants. So mission accomplished, and using God as a prop to do it. So yes, there are people on the right that are trying to do that. Like, no offense to the Secretary of War, but I don't think God divinely commanded a war in Iran necessarily, but he uses that language, and so that's that's a problem. And the left does it too. The left does it in a different way, so that again, if the restoration, the restoration is going to come from the ecclesial realm and the secular realm. And basically, it's postmodern leftist globalism that is the enemy of Christianity, and it expresses in various political manifestation. That's the primary enemy. It's not even about the politicians. The altitude is way above the politicians. So, and then let's talk about Leo. So we talked about Trump's errors. That we know. The internet's full of that. Then we got to also talk about what's going on with Leo. So during his Algeria trip, Leo the 14th visited the Grand Mosque of Algiers. It's the third largest mosque in the world after Mecca and Medina. He removed his shoes upon entering as a gesture of respect, and this was his second mosque visit in a year. And that detail has generated the most reaction, if you look at Twitter, from the traditional Catholics, because Leo has reportedly not removed his shoes upon entering the Basilica of St. Peter or the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And I agree, it's not our typical custom, but then why are you saying that it's more hallowed ground, right? We remove our shoes in the ancient Good Friday liturgy, right? Because it's an expression of in the presence of the holy. So whether the shoe removal is a liturgical act or a courtesy, it's a theological question, but the symbolism echoes far beyond whether you're even Catholic. It's an action of submission to Islam. So if you're comfortable with that, well, I'm not, but some of you might be. You don't to me, you build peace by you don't lie to one another, and you speak with mutual respect, but you don't give the other side anything that would be a deprecation to your own loyalties, right? So I would not remove my shoes in a mosque and nor would they genuflect at the Blessed Sacrament, right? So Algeria is also the country where 7 Trappist monks were kidnapped and beheaded in 1996, and they were martyred for the true faith in a country that Leo is now visiting in a spirit of interfaith fraternity. So there's a whole bunch of Twitter storm that many Catholics believe a wreath at their memorial would have communicated something important, but no such gesture appears to have been made. And then there's the matter of the Muslim prayer room installed inside the Vatican Apostolic Library. While Christians are banned from Mecca, while no church stands in Saudi Arabia, while European cathedrals face growing pressure, the Vatican rolls out the prayer mat. The symbolism of appeasement and surrender accumulates. And the faithful Catholics who notice it are not crazy. They saw the pictures of kneeling before the Pachamama, and it's hard to claim gospel authority after that, whether you're Catholic or not. The optic is as crazy as a president putting a blasphemous image on his Truth Social. The deeper problem is the selective outrage pattern. The Bishops' Conference has been fierce in opposing the immigration enforcement. It's been largely silent about all those shenanigans. Soupage honored Durban. The Axelrod audience happened. The seamless garment lives. So when your prophetic voice falls most consistently on one side of the political ledger, regardless of which side, and I point a finger at my own self from time to time, you are not functioning as a prophet, you're functioning as a partisan. Now, I want to finally tell you what I actually think is going on behind of all of this. There is a civilizational project advanced by the World Economic Group, another word that sort of rhymes with quorum, by the UN, by transnational bureaucratic class that is premised on the transfer of sovereign authority from nation states to unelected global bodies. They do it in open. You can read their own policy documents. It's all on the internet. It's not tinfoil hat. You have to do your homework. This project advances specific positions: open borders, population management, digital identity, the normalization of ideologies that are directly contrary to the natural law and Christian tradition. Donald Trump, whatever his personal failings, and they are legion, and no matter his theological confusion, and they are legion, is the first American president in a generation to actively resist this project. His hostility to the World Health Organization's power grab during COVID, his rejection of the credentialed diplomatic class, his insistence on national sovereignty, these represent a genuine, if imperfect, defense of the nation state as the proper unit of human self-governance under natural law and the church teaching on subsidiarity. Many traditional Catholics are also deeply suspicious of the Darbyite influence in the current administration. That's called Christian Zionism. And that theology that derives from a fellow named John Nelson Darby about 200 years ago and reproduced in a Bible called the Schofield Study Bible, which holds that the modern state of Israel is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy and that supporting it is a religious obligation. This theology drives the evangelical support for the Middle Eastern military action in ways that are foreign to and often incompatible with Catholic understanding. The idea that the church is the new Israel is not a Catholic novelty. It's a 2,000 years of unbroken tradition. So when Pete Hegseth calls for prayer for overwhelming violence against enemies and frames this war in terms of divine sanction, he is speaking likely motivated by this dispensationalism, not Catholicism, and Catholic faithful are right to be uncomfortable with it. So I'll wrap up my assessment stated plainly. I believe Leo XIV is functioning, whether consciously or not, as a moral voice for the globalist project, not because he's malicious, but because the post-conciliar church has been marinating in the same intellectual waters as the transnational left for 60 years, and the instincts have become indistinguishable. The man who receives David Axelrod and visits mosques while calling for multilateral governance is, whatever his personal intentions, serving a particular civilizational project, and that project is not the social kingship of Christ, which I and many of you are sworn to help build. The social kingship of Christ, articulated in Pius XI, Quas Primus, holds that Christ's kingship extends not only to individuals, but to nations and their governing structures. The proper end of Catholic political engagement is the ordering of temporal life to its eternal end, with nations acknowledging the lordship of Jesus Christ. Under that framework, globalism is not a step toward a better world. It's a step away from Christendom towards a post-Christian tonocracy that will, in time, be explicitly hostile to the faith. Trump's resistance to globalism, however theologically uninformed, is accidentally pointed in the right direction. Leo's embrace of multilateral institutions and interfaith equivalence is functionally aiding the dissolution of the Christian civilizational order the church is called to sanctify. This does not make Leo a villain. It may make him a pawn, and those are not the same thing. I want to close with something that gives me genuine hope, not because it resolves the circus. And boy, did I name this episode well. I hope I get a like for naming the episode the circus here, because it shows that the better answer is already in the room. Someone just has to choose it. Because during the same period, Secretary of State Marco Rubio gave a speech. And in fact, our friend Norm, who's on the air with us here in the chat, he emailed me and he said, "Oh, did you see this?" And I actually, it was funny. He emailed me because I had just watched it, like, I don't know, an hour before. And I said, "You know what, Norm, I'm going to do the show on that speech. It was so hopeful." And then Monday came and, oh my goodness, guys, oh my goodness, that Twitter, I was looking at the Twitter with horror. Like it was like watching a car wreck in slow motion, just the crazy that was coming out on both sides. And so if you are interested in that unpacking that speech, put that in the comments too, because that it was hopeful. I think you'd really be quite impressed. It might be a nice thing to unpack and be able to talk about something a little more uplifting and positive to Leo, positive to the United States, and it's nice to have those things. So the speech was called "The Catholic Roots of America," and he opened it by quoting my favorite Pope, Leo XIII, the same Pope whose name our current Leo bears. And he traced the Catholic presence in America from the first Christian service on American soil in Florida through the martyrs, the explorers, and the founders. He invoked St. Augustine and Aquinas, and he argued that the American founding was not an Enlightenment rupture, but a renewal of an older inheritance fitted to the unique experience, excuse me, of a free Christian people in the New World. And he ended with these words: "To look upon the history of this golden land is to see the face of God." This is a Catholic statesman speaking. This is a man who understands. See, talking too long. America is not a secular experiment, but an expression of Christian civilization, finding a new form in a new world. And that speech invokes the tradition of Leo XIII, the great social encyclicals, the defense of the natural law, the vision of a civilization ordered to Christ, with genuine intelligence and conviction. J.D. Vance, our vice president, is a Catholic convert who has spent years talking about the faith's claims on public life. He led the peace delegation to Islamabad, and he currently is silent about his boss calling the Bishop of Rome weak on crime. Bishop Robert Barron, who, although I disagree with his eschatology, his understanding of who goes to hell and heaven, I must say that he handled this with tact and wisdom, and he serves on Trump's Religious Liberty Commission, and he publicly said that the president owes Leo an apology. That, to my knowledge, has not happened yet, but it would be a very gracious gesture. I explained in the beginning why I think it might be unlikely, but I think it would be a really good gesture. And of course, the problem is, why the apology is not likely coming? Because as soon as he does it, the left will all pounce on him and rip him up. So basically, when you have that kind of ill will, it's best not to apologize. And actually, as a military man, we don't apologize for a lot of things either, if it's going to be perceived as weakness. Now, obviously, with a friend, if you do something wrong, you do apologize. In an ideal world, you should be able to apologize and not have it weaponized against you. So, Bishop Barron called specifically on Secretary Rubio and Vice President Vance to meet with Vatican officials rather than let this play out on social media. And the question for every Catholic in public life, and for every Catholic watching this right now, is the same question that's always faced the church in every generation. Will your faith govern and form your politics, or merely decorate it? None of us want our faith to be trappings of our politics. And it's so easy for the old devil, he's so smart, to even get the most devout of us a little off track. I've caught myself, and maybe you have as well. And, Rubio knows that answer because he gave it in that beautiful speech, and I bet you he wrote it himself. So pray for him, pray for Vice President Vance, pray for Leo and the president, and we may all do God's will in these crazy times. We named this episode of this live stream Uncommon Circus, and we named it that because it's exactly what this is. A circus performed by two powerful men who both claim, in their different ways, to speak for something higher than themselves, in a watching world that doesn't quite know what to make of either of them sometimes. And this is what I offer as a way through it. The church is not the Democratic Party of prayer. The church is not a MAGA rally with incense. The church is the body of Christ, called up to hold up the standard of the true gospel. The gospel that believes that the loaves and the fishes were a real multiplication, for example. And to take that gospel to every Caesar, every pontiff, every king, every comfortable Christian who's confused their tribe with their Lord. Christ is king, not Trump, not Leo, not the WEF, not the American Empire. Christ is king over this nation, over the Vatican, over every land, over every institution that claims his name while serving something else. So, Felix, what say you? Did you see all this internet on Monday?
Well, sorry, I want to make sure that was correct. I followed some of it. Honestly, I was checked out. I actually have a podcast on Sunday that's like music related. You know about it, and I mean, an audience knows about it.
I just didn't know it was Monday.
I said Monday. I meant to say Sunday. Forgive me.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and like usually the week is like preparing for it. Getting the thumbnails ready and all that. So I kind of checked out, but I did get I did see the infamous Trump AI pic, which
did you see the pic first or the post first?
I saw the pic first, and
I saw the post first.
Can I just say? What was that?
Did you notice that the modern and the traditional Catholics got more upset one over the other?
Yeah, I did kind of see some of that, some of the backlash. I like funny though. I'll like my one joke, half joke, is that now we have seen President Trump survive a blow to the head, and we now have just seen him proclaim himself to be the Messiah. So, I mean, like,
who was it that suggested he might be? Was it Tucker? Somebody famous.
He did, and then Trump chastised him publicly. The thing is that he's losing. There is a really good point, really brought up, that MAGA is like, and I say the MAGA in quotations, as in the MAGA up top, the MAGA politicians and the MAGA commentators and all of that, is now Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and stuff, and Tucker Carlson is out, and everything is all.
Well, I don't think. I think Mark Levin and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and same with you, chat. If you guys know more than me, but my understanding is Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin are diving in their ratings. Like, I don't watch them. Like, I used to years ago. I used to watch them all the time.
Yeah, no, they are. I think they've been exposed, thankfully. But the problem is that they're now claiming MAGA. That's what I'm saying. And like they're using, they're propping up MAGA to go to war with Iran. Like, first off, I'm at the point. I think I mentioned this last week. The whole Iran thing is I think it's just all for Israel's benefit at the end of the day. It has nothing to do with religious anything for us.
Right.
Unfortunately. I think we're playing cleanup for Israel. And
see, I don't see it like that at all. I know that's the popular view, but it's the popular, even trad Catholic view, but it's not mine. I'm of the theory that he's playing a bit more of 4D chess than a lot of people realize. I think this is all about China and British banking. So you guys can completely disagree with me. That is I know that's the off-wall take. That's not even in the top two. I think this is all about China's energy supply and the British control over the insurance and the finance that goes in with the global logistics. And I think that he's doing that because he's trying to get America configured to just the Western Hemisphere. So I think he's trying to move these pieces. And it's a very slow thing. It was over 100 years old. You can't change something 100 years in a 4-year term. You couldn't with a 20-year term.
No.
So we'll see. The great thing, if Felix is right, we're going to know within a year. If I'm right, you're going to know within a year.
Yeah. I think we're both right and we're both wrong. I think that's actually what it is.
Here's the thing, Felix. There's no, I mean, I love this stuff. Like, I love it when you have friends that just agree to disagree, and then it's sort of like betting on your favorite team.
We're still allowed to be friends, though, right?
Something the next time, you know what I mean? And it's just fun. But
you can still be my priest, Father. You can still be my priest. That's okay. That's allowed still.
Oh yeah, no, but there's a third position. So Felix thinks it's Israel, right? That we're doing cleanup after that. I mean, there's definitely an element of that from the first, especially the one a year ago, right? That was totally that. So there's that, and then there's there's my position, that's China and the banking and the going after the globalists. And then there's a third position. I'm trying to think what would the third position be? There's two major schools of thought. One is Israel, and one is probably just rah, we're saving the world from nuclear holocaust, probably, right?
Yeah.
What would you say the other position is?
Maybe yours, where it's I think we're trying. This is like that China's involved, all right, somehow, or like this is about the UK banking and if we went your route, that it has to do with UK banking and China and all that stuff, which I still think, even with your logic, all that leads to Israel. And me, I'm a midwit. I think I said this last week with Father Marty, made him laugh. It's a fact. So which means I'm very wrong on a lot of things. And this is me with doing zero research. It's just in my brain of brains. I'm like, I have a feeling that if I did do research, I would see that the UK banks and the Chinese banks and all this stuff, it all ties to Israel some weird way or another.
I know why you say, well, we might both be right. Yeah, maybe.
Exactly.
It will be interesting to see, because it's whatever's going on, we don't have all the info, right? So that's part of the problem. Is we can armchair quarterback all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't sit in Leo's seat. I don't sit in the president's seat. I don't have their information. I can only observe what comes out. As a person that's a big fan of congruence, I find a lot of President Trump difficult. That said,
I'm worse.
Also a person capable, and you can ask Felix this, I am a person capable of pattern interrupting theater myself. So I do understand the joy of stirring the pot. And so I kind of get him, but his line's totally different than mine. Like, I'm sillier than the president, but he definitely goes way beyond I do.
Yeah, no. He's all right. Well, the thing is, I have a little bit more of a nuanced take because I think you were talking about earlier how like people are just furious or this that. I'm kind of I kind of pity him more. This is my take. So I was joking about that he survived the blow to the head,
Yep.
all that stuff. In all reality, there's one of two things. One is that I think he's compromised because I think that blow to the head probably scared something into him, uh, the same thing. Like he probably wants to keep his family safe. Ultimately, it's the wrong decision because it's not good for the country. But I understand, or I'm not condoning. I'm not whatever. I think I understand his position
Well,
to the
that's
point where he
certainly the
wants to
case
protect
for a lot of members of Congress and other government people.
all the
There's a lot
politicians.
of people that are scared.
Yeah, absolutely. You say
Yeah.
the wrong thing, even
Right.
if you take the life-ending element out of it, the public humiliation, uh, the
Just ask for
cancellation.
Congressman Fartwell. I mean,
Fartwell.
Swalwell.
Oh, and again, no,
And
yeah, but you know what? He's
it
got a
was his
tough
own. Listen,
skin.
he was a bad guy, okay. But I'm just saying they knew he was a bad guy for years. It was his own people that decided he was inconvenient, and they
We
moved
smelled
on.
it on him. Sorry, I don't know. No,
You can't make this stuff up.
yeah,
You
yeah. No,
can't.
I was telling you,
And he was the first one lecturing other people who had these allegations that were unfounded, and now he's, and he knew that he was doing this himself.
yeah, we all. This was funny is that we all
Yeah.
knew. I mean, even if we didn't know, in quotes, I knew he was up to no good. I knew, like,
Yeah. No.
I knew it in my heart. And again, like I never, like,
So mark my words, Felix. There's a word of wisdom from Bishop Meikle. It doesn't happen very often. So you guys get ready for the word of wisdom, and you test me, okay? In other words, like you test to see what works in your life. When you find you get critiques from certain people, like that are in your business, and they're not, and they come at you with a certain direction, almost always it's something they themselves do. Almost always, because, and I saw it on Twitter because Father Martin and I were talking about this, because sometimes people come at us with these crazy insults or whatever, but they're not insults to us. Like we're just like, what, why does he think this is insulting? But we, they're like, oh, you got a zinger. And then, it was kind of an epiphany. Oh, that's what they would consider offensive.
yeah,
So sometimes, it's kind of like my old canon law professor, Andrew Kushgiri. Father Andrew, I hope you're in heaven praying for this crazy world right now. But anyway, Father Andy used to say, you can look at law, canon law and civil law, like from almost like an archaeologist or a historian. Because, like, for example, if you came across a stone tablet and it said, you must put the seat cover down after you pee, right?
yeah,
That would tell us something, that there was a problem in that city in that era, that men were inconsiderate and they left the lid up or whatever. I mean, silly,
right,
but it's
right.
law can tell you, and sometimes insults can tell you. Like even the insults that Trump and Leo give one another give us insight into those men.
Interesting.
Don't worry, I'm not going Dr. Phil on you guys.
Yeah, no. I think we're both. I think we're just seeing, like you said, we're just seeing all this infighting. I have checked out for the most part. Again, it's probably the result of a product of divorced parents. I don't want to see them fighting. So I
Right.
just go in my room and play Nintendo, while they
Well,
scream in the
what
other room.
my theory is I just need people to get up and vote, right? Like you vote. I don't care what your vote is, just get up and vote when it comes to the midterms, because guys, like, jeepers, we're so darn close to the stuff. It's frustrating because they never complete their promises, and it's very frustrating. But it's, the way to solve this is not to like rage quit. The way to solve this is, it was a guy I was watching. He's a what's his name? Oh, I'm gonna find him and put him on sometime, as far as like a recording. Very interesting. He's always encouraging people to be locally involved. Like, you should be locally involved in your church. You should be locally involved in your school board, the dog catcher board, the whatever. And he was basically
Oh
saying there
yeah,
are hundreds of thousands of jobs in the U.S. right now, like board positions. No one's run for, no one got appointed to, in every county in America. And that's a good role for the laity, right? Because the thing is, you don't have to be, some slick politician. Just be a decent person and take some of that social responsibility for us. Because if we leave it to the bad people, I mean, we can't change what Sweden does, or we can't change what Brussels does, we can't change what DC does. But you can have an impact on what your local community does with a little bit of involvement. Even attending a town council meeting, and I've attended a bunch of them in my time. Not as much as I probably should have as my civic duty, right? Even just to know what was going on. And some of them get pretty wild too, but that's another topic. But just to be, just so the bad doesn't, so that the dark doesn't overcome the light. And I guess that's my concern, is that, I think that, what's funny? People on the left sometimes accuse the MAGA people and the conservative people of like idolizing Trump and making him a chosen one or God. And then of course he does something stupid like that image, right? But do you know there are people that in the back of their head actually did treat him that way, and so that's why they're so upset now. That's why they're so crushed.
Yeah.
Like for me, I just see the guy.
This. You were the chosen one.
I see him as a smart business guy who's a leader, but who's also a theater guy. So I don't take this, like when he said destroy the civilization, I never thought for a moment he really meant it. But if you're Leo and you're not a theater guy, you're going to look at that and say, oh my goodness, this guy's a madman. And I get it, right? Like he's right. Leo's more right than me, right? In that respect. But I'm just saying, because I do this too. Sometimes I get some criticism, maybe some of you on air that are one of them. Every once in a while, I get someone will private message me and they'll say, you were kind of mean or whatever to so-and-so. And sometimes it's justified, but, sometimes it's good to have someone say, that I didn't, that wasn't helpful. So,
right.
If I was President Trump's friend, I'd be calling him up and saying, that wasn't helpful. Right? I can understand why you thought it was funny at the time, but that was not helpful.
Yeah. All right. So all right. Yeah. I'm under two frames of thought too. I have a feeling the one I'm leaning towards the most was that he was on the bowl and he just saw the tweet and he looked at it for 3 seconds, hit share, looked at it for 3 more seconds and was like, oh no. And you know what I mean?
Right.
And has been paying for it ever since.
I agree.
I don't know that that's the case. I think everybody in their heart of hearts, that's probably the most likely thing that happened.
Right. But it won't matter. Right. Like, I mean, the point of the matter is there's just certain things you can't do. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you like?
I've done it. Haven't you? I've done something I thought was going to be funny and I can't unring that bell. I once hurt somebody so badly. And this is going to be such a stupid thing. Wait till I tell you what I did. So I used to work at a bank as a young man, and I love my coworkers. Like I'm the weirdest introvert you'll ever want to meet, right? Like when I tell people I'm an introvert, they'll laugh. You're no introvert, because I'm a social butterfly with my friends, but I'm very introverted outside of my sort of social circle. So the thing is, there was this other shy coworker, and she had just had a baby. Right. And we were all so happy that she had her baby, and she was on maternity leave, and then she came back like it was off work, and she introduced me to her son. And our other coworker also had a baby. It was like they were almost like, neck and neck race.
Right.
And they named the baby the same name, Matthew. And I meant it as a joke, and I said, "Oh, Cheryl, that's an original name." She was crushed, and I could see it in her eyes. And it's like, to me, it's just a little something silly, right?
Oh, but yeah.
This was the greatest event of her life, her firstborn child, and here I am making fun of his name, and and I mean, me, like where I'm from, everybody tosses insults, like teasing all the time.
I would have felt bad. I would have felt bad too.
Oh man,
because when you see the reaction, you're like, "Oh, it's different." It's okay.
Yeah. No, I was internally crushed. I was as upset as she was on the end of it, I'm sure. But it's But no, but we can sometimes do really stupid things, right? Thinking that they're funny and they're not funny. They're not funny.
True.
I see that the chat's lighting up there, Felix.
Oh,
Shall
the
we
chat
let some
is
guys in here?
going nuts. Yes, let's see. Let's see. Where do we start here? Of course, we start with the wonderful Dale. God bless.
Dale.
Says go team, go Dale. Gene Malloy. He says
Yes.
Pope's been messing around with the papacy too. That's a factor.
Well, that's right, Gene. We weren't going to go there, but no, just teasing you. No, you're right.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's actually, yeah. I love when I have a group of guys that have slightly different views of where it sort of went south, and if everybody's like friends and you're just sort of bantering around and no one has to worry about being called stupid or whatever, but the stories are great because there's different theories on when the mess really happened. And I don't know when the mess happened, but I think most of us watching this, we agree something's rotten in Denmark, right?
Yeah.
So God will sort it. I hope. I keep saying that, but I hope. Do you want to read that for us, sir?
Sure. Norm says, first off, hi, Norm. He says, I think the Pope has been somewhat disingenuous in saying that he's not going to get political, all the while speaking politically. Right. It may be okay for a Pope to do so, but he should just admit it.
Yeah. So if I was his friend, Norm, I'd said if I was Trump's friend, what I'd do. If I was Leo's friend, I would say, you know what would be kind of charming and it would resonate with people on both sides to a degree, or at least we'd all understand, is that he loves his brother Lewis, and Lewis loves Leo.
Yeah.
So they're brothers, and they're brothers that love one another. They are on opposite ends of this political spectrum, and they tease one another about it. And I think there's something to be said that you could use the fact that you love your brother even though you disagree with him, that everybody would resonate with, especially Americans. And you just sort of double down with it. And I think the reason why he didn't, he doesn't want poor Lewis to have cameras in his face all the time. That every time Leo does something, yeah, they'll all harass Lewis, right? But I mean, I think that is such a very humanizing and relatable situation that that would also endear Leo to the more conservative Catholics, because Leo has an optic problem. Like, I don't know whether he realizes it or not. What I already talked about in the monologue there is that he's got an optic problem, whether he intends it or not. The perception of most Republican non-Catholics and a good portion of Catholics is that the modern church and its institution is very much aligned with the Democrat Party. And that is a problem because it should be neutral. And it shouldn't be neutral on things like pro-life. But I mean, right now, both parties do teach stuff that are contrary to the church's moral teaching, but that stuff never gets the air. And the stuff that the church should be speaking up for the ordinary person, like it used to be when I grew up, Felix. It was lefties and righties love one another. They had different things. So I had a whole side of the family that was very union, and I had a side of the family that wasn't so much. And everyone loved one another, and it was interesting to hear these things because I learned so much. My brother's the head of a union, and he's I look up to him so much, right? And even though I'm more of a guild guy. Like, I think there should be employee-owned corporations and associations, but I don't like the adversarial stuff, But unless it's warranted, and it's not always warranted, So sorry to get off on the topic, but in the old days, that was the difference between right and left. There wasn't. Right now, right and left argue about basics of reality, and that's why everybody's taking it so personal. Because when you're on the level of not understanding the same reality, every time someone disagrees with you, you take it as a personal insult of your judgment or your intellect. So it's affecting everybody's emotions differently. And that's why some of your family, that you used to be close to, you're not anymore. And almost every family in America and Canada and Europe has gone through this because, everybody's taking it so personally that someone you love might not see the world the same way.
Right? Yeah, true. All right, let me see. All right, let's see. 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 Pope Leo, it says Pope Leo the 14th has inspired me to read Father Bernard O'Reilly's book, The Life of Pope Leo the 13th, which
Well,
includes
you let me know how you
many
like that book, Norm, because I've never read it. I'm a big Leo the 13th fan, but I've read a lot of his actual encyclicals. I've read a biography on him, but it wasn't that. And of course I read a lot of derivative. So now I don't think my friend Adrian watches my. He's too busy as well for he's on air a lot himself. But I have a friend who's into Professor Plino, and I was always a Hilaire and Bloch guy. Hilaire Bloch and Chesterton guy. And yeah, so there's some friction between Plino's views and all that kind of stuff if you're into that economic stuff. But if any of you are interested in government and how it relates to faith, get into Leo the 13th. Like it's not a good hobby for everyone, but if you're like that stuff, if you like politics at all, instead of dealing with the crazy that is today, read some of this old stuff. It's really good. It makes you think. And you realize, too, if you get into the founders and stuff of even the U.S., how really brilliant a lot of them were. And the same goes for the church people of the day. So you might really enjoy it.
Let me see. Gene says it should be worth asking Leo questions only if Leo started speaking plainly.
Yeah, my fear is, Gene, like, I don't know if you read that book, Lord of the World. I'm always going on about it. We should ring a bell whenever I say that book title, Felix. It's could be part of the game. But
yeah, right.
No, because I mention it all the time. But it's kind of like what I'm curious, because there's different kinds of liberals, right? There's just there's different kinds of atheists. There's the kind of liberal that just wants to do what God wants. And so I disagree with them, but I know their heart's in the right place. And then there's the kind that they're always up to something. And they're playing chess with you all the time. They're trying to trap you.
Yeah.
And I hope he's the good guy and not I hope he's the good kind of liberal and not the bad. And I'm expecting emails now. You call Leo a liberal? Yes. No, he's not. Look how he dresses. Oh, for Pete's sake. Just because a guy dresses traditionally and has this, he has a serene manner and all this. And actually, as a quick aside to Felix's point, and Tucker Carlson's point, when they question could Trump be the big the big Antichrist? No, he's. I'll tell you why not. Because that character is supposed to get along with the false prophet, and I think the false prophet's going to be if not, Francis was a good candidate. Leo, not really necessarily the same way. But maybe you don't like to hear that thing. I mean, maybe the church would be underground, and there'll be if Lord of the World as a book is right, then the real Pope will be underground someday, and you're going to know. It's so bizarre. Talk about rabbit holes, but all it takes is for them to come out with a story of aliens, and everybody's going to go nuts. You think they go nuts over that AI?
Yeah,
yeah. The whole world will change overnight, and people that have been Christian their whole lives will walk away from the faith.
Yeah. Understandably so.
Yep.
And I say that loosely because at the end of the day, I think it's sad and there's going to be dire consequences for doing such a thing. And I hope people can see through that. I'd be great for that.
It speaks what Gene's touching on, though, right? He's saying if Leo started speaking plainly, but the same token is it'll separate the believer from the people that are just sort of there for comfort. So
just kind of rolling along, rather.
Yeah. Let your yes be yes, your no be no. It's one of my favorite sayings. One of the favorite teachings our Lord Jesus taught. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Everything else comes from the evil one.
I'm with you too, by the way. I don't think Trump's the big AC. You know what I mean? I will say something.
He doesn't meet the
I understand the criteria.
The world is so crazy, Felix. I understand why people want it tanned.
Oh.
Every time there's a red heifer, half the country goes nuts and they're running around like crazy people for a while. You know what I mean? And it's I understand why you guys want just to be in heaven with our Lord. I get it. But they don't realize how hard it is for the believer. That 3.5 years is immense persecution, right? So
yeah. There's no rapture. For one,
there's
yeah.
debate like whether we'll have an era of grace before that final downturn. So we'll see. I just try to not tell God what to do, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Well, I think that's. I make comparisons to Babylon, right? Or no, I'm sorry, the Tower of Babel,
Right.
right? Because this is men trying to fix the environment to bring God to them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is exactly the same exact thing. They're trying to fix the environment to make the puzzle pieces fit for revelation to take place. I think that's going to backfire horrifically. There's it's disgusting. Like, if anything, yeah, like on the bright on the one end, yeah, it might trigger the events, and that's what the Bible was kind of hinting at all along. Sure, okay. But let's say it doesn't. The amount of evil that you enabled to get this good, what do you think is gonna? How is that gonna affect your soul at the end of everything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Um,
Did you? I mentioned this movie before. Did you ever see the movie Gattaca?
No, it's on my list though because you've recommended it.
Yeah.
I do want to
So
watch
you
it.
guys watch that one if you want to. I think it probably aged fairly well. It was 90s or early 2000s. But some science fiction's good. Like, again, some stuff's a waste of your time, but some of
Sure.
it's actually teaches you stuff or allows you to make philosophical or anthropological connection. So so some not all recreation is created equal, and the stuff that makes you think is preferable.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Matrix. They Live, guys. You guys got to watch They Live. We only me and you watched half of
What
it.
is it?
Never got to They Live.
They Live.
That was They Live. That was the
Oh,
one with Roddy Piper, and then
I
we
don't
didn't
think I
even get
saw it.
to. You watched the first half with me, and we
Oh,
had to
yes,
stop.
yes, yes. I still got to watch the other half with you. We're gonna
You
have to
didn't
do that
even,
sometime.
but guys. First off, no spoilers in the chat. Father Meagle didn't even get to the point where the movie really kicks off because it's kind of there's like a big setup in the beginning, and
Yeah.
then it turns on its head, and like right when it was going to happen, you were like, I have to go. I'm like, oh no, but whatever. One day
Yeah, well, we finished
we'll
off
finish.
kind of late most. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, but yeah, no, there's definitely good sci-fi out there. Let me see. I think Trump's words soft on crime.
Oh, you know what, Norm? I'll let you read Norm's comment. I read
Yeah,
ahead.
Norm says, yeah, I think Trump's words soft on crime related to the Pope's criticism of the U.S. actions regarding Maduro and
Yeah.
Venezuela. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think your answer is better than mine, Norm. Yeah, that would kind of make sense. Again, but he's actually an interesting character. I've been following him longer than he's been recently in the spotlight. But I followed his predecessor and then sort of
Hugo
saw what he
Chavez?
was doing. Yeah, so I think it's pretty amazing how they did it though. I do wonder, is Cuba and Canada going to be next for that?
Yeah, I mean,
But
Canada, we're watching just deteriorate. And
oh
I mean,
man, I don't
Cuba,
get me going on that tonight until we get through all the comments. But yeah, no, can't poor Canada guys. It's they for the first time in Canadian history, they have a majority parliament with that's like it was done through basically bribery of people. So it's illegal. It's legal. It's immoral, but it's illegal. Sometimes things can be legal but still immoral.
sure.
They the poor people of Canada, they most of them have no idea what's coming. They're all I don't know whether it's media propaganda or whatever, but there's so few that seem to like. I love it when I find someone who disagrees with me who's informed. I love that.
Yeah.
You agree, disagree, you have good banter. That's more fun than just someone saying, "Yep, yep, yep, I agree." Right. So it's nice to have a little bit of a banter there. But I find that either Canadians are completely awake, like most of the people in Alberta are, or they're completely numb. And there's the exception that proves the rule. But oh my goodness! And I'm like, guys, you all here? I'll tell you. I social media. I asked my buddy from high school. I said, here, look at this link. It wouldn't open in his side of the border. And also, he doesn't get, the news is all censored up there. And people don't realize, because you go up there, it looks like it's just like upstate New York. Like, oh, this is a nice place to visit. People are so friendly. Yeah, except it's Kanakistan. You don't want to say the wrong thing, or you're going to be carted away. And like it's not as bad as England was, but it's going to get there. They've got something like 5 censorship and anti-free speech laws in the process. One of them just passed. They're outlawing quoting the Bible. Like it's wild. You aren't allowed to utter the holy name, our Lord's name, at the military cenotaphs anymore. It's that bad. And they burned down so many churches. Like per capita, there's so many churches that are burnt down there. It's just craziness.
And also, let's not forget, New York City. Some places of New York City now have the call to prayer to Muslim prayer. Well, the home of 9/11 is giving out call to prayer in certain parts of New York. That's what we're right now.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, Texas had a scare there too, and they're not out of the woods yet.
They are not out of the woods. None of us are out of the woods.
Nope.
Not even Florida.
But guys, it's all because of weak Christian men. I hate to say it, and we all have our weak days, but
guilty as charged, man. I'm telling you.
Don't blame them for just taking advantage of what we're giving them.
Yeah. I mean, what do we do?
Well, I know what Andrew Wilson would say, but none of your wives would speak to you again.
Yeah, they'd be like, enough's enough.
I'm just joking. All right, let's
welcome on the show, by the way, Andrew. I think.
Oh yeah, well, we're too small potatoes for him.
I know.
He was raised Episcopalian. Was that Trump? You mean? Who was raised Episcopalian there, Monsignor?
I think, and I think he left. I think I saw downstairs that he had to leave. Down.
So, guys, actually, that's a good point. Like, if Felix and I are rambling, you might want to because we don't see necessarily your comments right away, and then when we get back to it, it's like, who's raised Episcopalian?
But I do think he's talking about Trump. Actually.
And don't you guys get on and Twitter and say, "See, Meekle's against pronouns." Well, I am, but yeah,
yeah, right. Only some pronouns. There's nuance. No, right?
But the problem is, it's like when you say someone's raised Catholic. I mean, that's a big spectrum, right? Like, does that mean you were at,
raised Catholic,
sister crazy? Yeah, I mean, there's crazy schools and there's good schools and there's, someone that was up in Opus Dei or Pius X is different than someone brought up with Sister Mary McButterpants and the paddle, right? I mean, honestly.
Which we probably all should have had. I think I would have been better off. It's funny because I went.
Not from the Blue Hairs, though, Felix.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. No. I'm talking about. All right, so like, I had a friend of mine who went to St. Peter's Prep, and that was a preparatory school to go to St. Peter's College. And I went to Marist, which was a Jesuit high school, co-ed.
Right.
And he went to all boys St. Peter's Prep, and like I just spent the rest of my high school time regretting not going to St. Peter's Prep because it was one of those. It was all boys, but it was like hard. It was pretty hardcore Catholic, you know what I mean? And then meanwhile, ours was not so much. I've told you that story before. I won't go down that rabbit hole again, but
we're all but the rabbit hole here.
Yeah. Not the best experience, my opinion. Maris. All right, let me see. It's in his book. Or I guess he talks about being raised Episcopalian. But yeah, what do you say? I mean, yeah, like he's not out of the woods totally. Like he's not an ignoramus when it comes to that.
But guys, like really, all the postmodern religions, Christianity, the big churches, like they're pretty much the same, unless you're part of a hardcore private school or a particular spiritual movement. They all basically teach the same thing. Some of the vocabulary is a little different, but your regular pew sitting Episcopalian, modern Catholic, modern Lutheran, they're all pretty interchangeable. Presbyterian, Methodist, even. It's kind of funny. Like you'll get the odd guy that debates apologetics and stuff, but that's a small segment of a few young people that are interested in their faith and they're intellectually inclined and they like to banter at school. But the majority of people that are just Sunday service kind of Christians, they really can. They're a lot more interchangeable than it was in the old days. So, that's more of a bad thing than a good thing. But
yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay, yeah, Gene.
Yeah,
Gene, you're right on, man.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of why I named the channel I did, like Escape Make Religion, because that's actually the burr in my butt. It's like when I catch it myself, right? And
yeah.
so I'm just sort of saying, like, we say like John the Baptist, growing up, and I read the Bible through several times, and the Baptist never captured me the way he did when I was just a little older, like to get him. And then I reflected on him one time, and as I mid-20s, early 20s, well, it would have been early 20s, yeah. But anyway, and it just blew me away. I realized I was neglecting this great message, and really, how can you understand Jesus without John the Baptist? And John the Baptist, everything's for God. First commandment, greatest Old Testament prophet, yet he's in the New Testament, and it's just about authentic faith. And what I love about talking about that is that it doesn't matter if you're non-denominational or Novus Ordo or traditional Catholic or Sede or whatever. It doesn't matter what we are. If you love God, like, it does matter. Like, I'm not saying all the teachers are the same, but what I'm saying is on the level of like shared friendship and being able to talk about this stuff seriously, when you find someone that's really loves God and just wants to do his will, then the whole conversation changes. It's not about just who can quote better at this or that. It's like there's a real zeal. We just want to do what God wants. And that's what I love to see, when people have that switch, that awakening. And on the Catholic side, when they learn to love what God loves and hate what God hates. And I have a little talk I do every once in a while on that. And whenever I do it in a mixed group, say I've got 30 people, there's at least one person that'll say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Or sometimes they email me with it or text me with it, or they'll even say it aloud. They'll fight me on it. God doesn't hate anything. Oh, no. Love what God loves, hate what God hates. God hates sin. Why? Because it hurts his children. So he doesn't hate people, but he hates sin. And for us to, sort of realize that this baptism of ours has duty too, right? I love telling people that, like, because it's so funny. Because some people get it. Like, anybody that's going to be watching this probably already does. But yeah, there's this awakening people have, and the young people of this age. See, God has a sense of humor. The whole world was going against church for a while, and some of the young are taking their parents back. I've seen it happen several times. It's the young people taking their parents back, and it's just so neat to see. It's that they haven't been jaded. They have curiosity, and they help their parents fall in love with God and the faith again. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because it is like, in my time here, I've seen the pendulum actually swing. I've been old enough to see the pendulum swing, and I saw my generation rejecting, conventional Catholicism, conventional Christianity, and spirituality. And I've seen what that has done as we've grown up into parents, and what it's done to our kids. And the ones who rejected that are doing the best. Who didn't buy into it. Let me see. The great Melvin says on 60 Minutes, Cardinal McElroy, after saying that it's not a just war, and after pressed by the reporter about Iran terror exporters, he says that it is an abominable regime and it should be removed.
So,
Maybe,
Melvin, what I say about these guys is that postmodern religion, not just Novus Ordo Catholicism. So again, I don't mean to be picking on anybody. I say this as exhortation, not as insult. Okay, is that postmodern iterations of Christianity and all religions, they're very comfortable with the square circle. So that guy, Cardinal McElroy, who I know one of his priests very well, by the way, but that's another story. But anyway, the thing is that they know deep down that they have these incongruencies, but they're perfectly comfortable with them. See, they drive me nuts. We all have them, right? Like it's like, oh, I want to lose weight. Well, did I go to the gym today? No, right? So that's a square circle. Either go to the gym or shut up about wanting to lose weight, right?
Right.
So it's like now temporary square circles are fine because that's the process of growing, right? But yeah, this is the problem that these guys, like if I presented Carl McElroy, my friend from Persian friend from Iran, whose family, some of which is still trapped there, he would say, "Oh, my poor dear, I 100% agree with you." And it's like, yeah, well, she wants to be liberated. She wants her family liberated. Right. So, I mean, it is messy. I guess my thing, Melvin, is I don't mind Cardinal McElroy not liking Trump. That's fine. But, he and Supich and Tobit, they go out of their way. And this isn't the first time. They go out of their way with the insults and the pot shots. And if I did the same thing like to Joe Biden, which I did, to be fair, so I guess, pot calling kettle black. No, but I mean, then they would be outraged. You're disrespecting the president. And in fairness, whether a president is, the party I like or not, I'm going to be respectful to the office. And the same goes with the cardinals of the church to a certain degree, right? I'm not, if I see Cardinal McElroy, I'm not going to call him, there's some track out of Mr. McElroy. Well, whether he is or not, right? It's just a certain courtesy. I certainly, there are times when I don't know whether I believe in the same God, right? Like I don't share his faith. But that doesn't mean I can't deal with him respectfully. And, but a lot of these guys, they don't want anything to do with you anyway. They kind of, a lot of them are kind of snobby, but I try not to be that way.
Yeah.
But what do you do?
What are we going to do? Exactly.
No, I mean, no, but so sometimes people, like I'll sometimes have, and please, if you see me someplace public, like, yeah, introduce yourself. Please do. I was at a symphony once, and with all these people that knew it, I was kind of funny. And it wasn't from YouTube. It was from Substack, of all things. And, but I mean, I love, yeah, sure. It's great. Like, they're like friends that you just haven't met before. So that's kind of cool. But what I'm getting at is if you can imagine if 100 people did that instead of 1 or 2 people, then you might, you might have to say, sorry, I can't really, it's like, depends. Gotta go.
Yeah. Right. All right, let me see what we got here. Oh, hey, I just saw. All right, the great.
I wonder if he's still on because we're going late. Well, if it isn't my dear friend.
Oh, if you want to, do you want him to come on? Or do you want to invite him? I don't
know. He can if he wants.
If you're still on and you want to come on, let us know. As long as it's not the Zippo Circus.
Well, you know what? I gotta try to. So Father has this show. So a plug for. So if you guys see that username there, Restless Heart Media, he has excellent Sunday sermons. See, he's more brave than I am. He just puts his sermon up there. Like me, I in live stuff, I come out with crazy things sometimes, and I'm like, no, I definitely.
I want you to put it up there. I think you should. I think
you're funny.
But I've told you that before.
Maybe I will. But anyway, no. Father is excellent, and there's a bunch of excellent spiritual material there at Restless Heart Media on the Augustinian spirituality. Francis de Sales. We have half of our Invitation of Christ. We're going to finish that file, and a lot of great material. And then he has a fun show, Friday Night Leisure.
Yeah.
And then and that's just with Alberto, who's a wonderful Catholic man. And you'll never accuse Alberto of lacking candor. He's very blunt. And then the other thing is the and once a month he and myself and Father Lafore do a unspoken issues, as we call it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I should know the name of my own show I help out with. But yeah, no, unspoken matters thing was. But we're on there and we talk as if you're in our rectory living room. So that's the great thing. If you had any questions about church stuff that you just don't feel comfortable asking your priest at home, that's the show for it. You just ask away in the comments. And the same with Alberto's night on the Friday, they open up the floor and you can ask all kinds of questions about the faith.
Oh, that's yeah. I need to catch that show more the Friday ones, but usually, again, it's like I've somehow willed myself into like the podcast sphere where I'm juggling a lot of plates now for that. So
So how many podcasts are you helping out with now, Felix?
There's this one. There's
Now you have like music channels and stuff, but there's stuff you have to be live though, right?
there's stuff that I have to be live, and I think that's for about maybe 4 things. In fact, because now I just started a second show that's going to be on tomorrow on Twitch. I have a Sunday show.
Nice.
Sometimes I help with my friend's Thursday show, and of course I do this weekly podcast.
That's awesome.
And yeah. So like
what's your biggest
when
channel
Friday,
now?
what's that?
What's your biggest channel now?
This one.
Is it really? We're little.
Yeah.
Father Martin's lucky he doesn't laugh at us. No,
Yeah.
watches
No.
Father
All right.
Martin.
So I have like where I'm like a music DJ for AI music.
You have like a 7,000 channel too, right?
Yeah, but that's so misleading because this is what happened. I paid for YouTube advertising to increase my followers, my subscribers.
Yeah.
They're all bots. They're all bots. I think out of the 7.6 7,600 whatever it is,
right.
I think maybe 500 or so are real people that actually like my music. If I'm lucky, if I'm being frank. But
right.
but I'll tell you what, I started the Twitch channel and within a month I was monetized.
Really?
Yeah,
Now what's Twitch? Is that just like YouTube?
Twitch is kind of like YouTube. It focuses more on live streaming. You can record more videos, and a lot of people stream their games on there. But I have an AI DJ. I'm kind of like a DJ, for lack of a better word.
It's
for
like
AI
a younger audience on Twitch, typically.
That depends. Yeah, I mean, like for my show, it's my age or younger. Actually, there's some older heads on there, but it took me 1 month to get monetized on Twitch. I've been on YouTube for 8 years, I think, or so. Haven't been monetized yet.
Well,
just to tell you where I've been.
Father Martin just got monetized there. I'm sure he's not making billions or anything yet, but it's good.
Hey.
It's nice. It's nice to celebrate those little wins because you put so much work into it, right? And it's not even so much the size of the check; it's that you made. Yeah, it is. It is that other people thought that you're worth spending a little time with.
Yeah, no,
you guys hanging out with us, which we appreciate so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't forget, to drop comment stuff, even if it's hey, it looks like you didn't comb your hair or something. Just because the comments.
Oh, why are you calling me out, Father?
Yeah,
I haven't shaved. I got a neck beard.
Those likes and comments, even if they're just silly stuff, like actually help. That's one of the YouTube measures engagement. So if you want to support us, that's the best way to do it. Is just write a comment there, like I had a wonderful day today. Thank you guys for not being too much of a jackass or something.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, no, comments are always appreciated. Norm says, "I want you to know, Bishop Meikle, I really appreciate, respect, and agree with your overview of what is going on."
Well, thank you, Norm. I think we'll see. I mean, you only know in hindsight, right? But I think one of my we all have different gifts. I can make connections across discipline. So I'm not a great expert at any one area, but I'm very versed in a whole bunch of things to a certain standard. So it's kind of neat. You can make certain connections. So it's yeah. So that's why I harp on a couple different themes, because I see if it unfolds. And I'm more curious. I'm more interested in, well, first of all, in a church context, in a baptized man context, in a clergy context, I'm very interested in the salvation of souls, right? So there's that. And then the second thing is I'm curious. I'm naturally curious. I love the stories of other people, and I love being able to share stuff with them and learn from them. And likewise, both sides are good that way, are rich that way. And then yeah, so it's I think a little unconventionally. I don't mind being wrong. I'm normally like I have a lot of wins. I have a lot of prediction wins, but I've had a few wrong too. Or sometimes I'm right, but my timing's really wrong. So that
Yeah, sometimes my tact is leaves much to be desired. Yeah. So that's never good. All right, let me see
yeah,
where we're at here.
absolutely.
Father Haga says, good night,
Yes, good
all. I
night.
get
Here.
to bed so I can get up early, get packing, and move to the farm for this. Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. Norm says, yes, we really need to pray for all these in this presidential administration to be increasingly guided by God and by real Christian principles. Our leaders need our sincere prayers to be true to God.
Yeah, that's a good reminder for all of us. Whenever you feel inclined to get angry at somebody on the TV, like I'll tell you, okay, Father Martin, if he's still on air, he's going to get a kick out of this because I was telling him about these crazy women of the View, and he didn't know what I was going on about first. Like he learned later, but he says that's such a boomer thing or something to that effect, right? But
Yeah.
but I don't know many people who watch a whole View show, but we all see them in clips, right? Like they say
Sure.
outrageous stuff, and we see them in clips,
Yeah.
and I guess the thing is that when you see someone that says something to outrage you, we really should remember to pray for them. Like, and I don't mean this in a fluffy way. It's like one of the things that was an interesting addition to my prayer life. I had a spiritual director, and he was telling me, find little things you do every day and attach little prayers to them. And so you flip the light switch, you open the fridge, you open the car door. You associate these habitual things you do every day with an encouragement just to say, Jesus, I love you, or thinking about someone to pray about, or this kind of thing. And one of the things I try to do is when I see an image, like or a video of someone I really don't like, I pray for their soul. And I try. But my
That's a good
goodness.
practice.
Yeah.
That's a good practice. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting hard. I mean, I'm definitely so jaded, beyond jaded with politics now.
Well, it's what the devil wants. The devil wants us all divided, and I mean, I was watching. So I have friends of friends, and they're all going on like the whole Nick Fuentes thing versus these other guys. And it's just like, you know what? I agree with some of his stuff. I disagree with other of his stuff.
Yeah,
but it's like he's like, I don't know what to say. There's no curiosity in what the real, true, and good is. I think even though he's an older young man, he's still a young man in the sense that he takes perceived betrayal so to heart and gets so angry. And I get it. Maybe that's just a function of age, but people betray you. Our Lord had Judas. I mean, everybody watching this has had at least.
Can you expand on why does he feel betrayed? What did I miss? I feel like
Well, I mean, he used to be, he was at January 6th. He was pro-Trump. He was this or that. Now he's going, Trump's evil. Trump's all this, and it's like, you know what? It's not as simple as that, right? The thing is, there's evil in you and me, right? There is one of the things he said, which I really found bizarre, and I don't mean to be picking on him. There's lots to admire about him too. I know he's a controversial.
Yeah. No. I'm actually pretty more pro Nick Fuentes than I thought I was.
But he said at one point, like, Trump shouldn't have said mean things about Leo because he should be obedient to him. And the problem is that, like, again, we all have our square circles. If Leo knew Nick, he would excommunicate Nick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this was kind of the weird square circle for me. Is like, okay, how can you be this smart and such an excellent communicator and you be so completely oblivious to this fact that those people hate you?
Yeah.
And they really hate you.
People that hate you are now in the Vatican.
But I don't hate you. They hate you. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference. Like, and some of that just comes from surviving some of these toxic environments, right? I hate to use that term, but it's true. It's like
Here's the thing, especially in a situation with Nick. The reason I would be more prone to be Team Nick in a situation like this is because something that you mention all the time is his desire for the real, true, and good. I think he's like a legit Catholic, and he really wants to please God. He takes it very seriously. Like I'm speaking from
Well,
outside,
he beats
from
off
someone
at
I
people
don't
like
know.
us, right? Recently, I didn't read the whole thing, so I can't really. I'm not speaking here as someone who's studied his
What was that?
position or anything. But
That he what?
he came after those who were traditional irregulars, and basically said, we need to be more obedient and stuff. And it's like, dude, like,
Yeah. Here's that. Well, this actually goes into my next point. He's not great with apologetics. Like I've seen him get his butt handed to him in debates when it comes to religion and certain
right,
theological things like this. Now, to be frank, I'd probably perform worse than him. You know what I mean? So this
sure,
isn't a dig, but I've seen him lose debates like with Jay Dyer, things like that. Um, so like when it comes to things like that, he may be wrong, but it's like what you said. This is one of those things like, okay, maybe we disagree on it, but I know that his ultimate goal is for souls to get to heaven too, or he wants, you know what I mean? He wants to be pleasing in the eyes of
well,
the Lord. And
not everybody can, debate on the fly, like especially bad short-term memory. I'd be very disinclined. Like when I
mm,
was younger, I did all the time. I used to banter with Baptists and Belfast guys during the time the IRA was on the go, and orange and
yeah,
green fights at the pub kind of thing. And you know, I, that was it. As I get older, I think I would do the church disservice if I just did regular live debate. I would be happy to do like chess by mail,
yeah,
um,
I
dueling
can't.
essays. But people don't enjoy that. They want to see blood sport, right?
Yeah, no, and those are great. Yeah, but yeah, that like, here's the thing: is you will hurt your cause if you let pride take over and think, "Oh, I can beat this guy in the debate," and
Oh,
it's purely an
absolutely,
emotional.
absolutely.
You'll end up stopping someone's salvation.
And
You know what I
there's
mean?
technique as well as knowledge, right? So I mean, you have to. I get such a kick out of that Andrew Wilson guy. We got to get to the comments too. I don't mean to be
He's great.
hijacking, but I get such a kick out of the Andrew Wilson guy because he's like, he
He's great. I
he
actually
debates all these people with PhDs and multiple master's degrees, and he doesn't even have
just
grade 10, and
dismantles
he's
him.
smarter than all of them.
He
And
dismantles
it's
him. It's
it's really
beautiful.
great. It's really
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and and I get such a kick out of it because the guy is his own. Like there's a different level with him, right?
Here's
So
the thing. Look, because he said things where I'm like, oh man, I'm guilty of that. I was guilty of that. But
yeah,
like
well,
the
he's not right all
victory,
the time. He's got some
no,
theological error,
he's
right?
been
But
wrong.
what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, he's
talking
been
about
wrong.
is
He's
his
Orthodox too,
technique.
so
His technique is superb. Like he doesn't let he doesn't he's completely immune to the normal leftist way of blowing up arguments.
yeah.
Like that's what his superpower
Kind of
is.
Trumpian in a way, because it is it like because remember they tried to cancel Trump in the beginning, especially with like all these virtue things, right?
Yep.
Like the locker room stuff and whatever.
Yep.
And they st- and I think he Andrew Wilson kind of adapted that and into his debate style, So it's like, okay, you can't you can't fling this crap at me anymore. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I big shout out to him. I think he does really. I think and same thing. I think people like him. He wants to be pleasing in the eyes of the Lord. And even if we don't agree, I respect that. Let me see. Melvin said, "What is it with Democrats and young women?"
Yeah, I don't know,
Mhm.
Melvin.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. All I can say is it's kind of like I don't know. Maybe it's a subconscious thing. They just want to remain unmarriable.
It's a feminine ideal. The Democrat, like, pretty much their mission statement is
I mean, the guys that end up with women like that, nobody's happy.
no,
They're not happy people. I
no.
mean, I'm not saying that it's all about just you running around like with endorphins in your brain, but there is a certain something to be said that you shouldn't be on a path of life that's going to make you constantly miserable. I like a good rant as much as anyone, but I'm overjoyed with my life and my major life choices. I wouldn't change. even my mistakes I wouldn't change because God used them to make better things come out. So, if I could go back in time and tell myself anything, I don't think I would. Because I'd be scared that in whatever I do would mess everything up that God had planned. So I wouldn't do it.
You ruined the space-time continuum. There'd be you know what I mean?
Yep.
I'd be into Battlestar Galactica, not into Star Wars, just because you didn't go to you made a different decision. All right, let me see. Michael Mitchell is here. I believe I seen him here.
Oh,
I
hey,
respond when I should give it 24 hours before responding all the time. Just can't help myself.
I'm the same way. You know
Yeah.
what? Even a good 60 seconds.
Yeah. Count to 10. Not even.
I did it this week. I've only done it like twice. I got someone with friendly fire. I misread what they meant. Boom. Full bore. And they're like, but I like you, Bishop Eagle.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. I did that too one time. Like, that is the worst. That is probably like, you feel like an absolute idiot.
That's exactly what that is. Sorry for the friendly fire.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've done it too. I felt like an absolute idiot. I'm just, oh my God, man. I can't.
Well, I've ticked off people with unintentionally. They took what I said the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
I was just trying to be funny. But see, you know what? What I consider funny, what the rest of the world does, isn't always the same thing. So
yeah, right. It's like I told you, like Cernovich blocked me, and I'm like, "What are you doing, bro? I'm a fan. Why are you blocking me?"
yeah,
I think because I disagree with him with something. I was actually really, really tame. And he was like, "Oh, block." I was like, "Okay, there goes your respect." All right.
yeah.
And you know what I did? Oh my God! Like I made a meme where it was like a picture of Dolph Lundgren. All right, so this is a little crude, but Dolph Lundgren has a picture where he's holding up from Universal Soldier. He's holding up the ears, the Vietnam ears, whatever. Right, the necklace. I just replaced the ears with blocked notifications.
Right.
Yep. It's just that was a little too dark. I'm sorry for the fans out there, especially. All right, so Melvin says that's what happens when crazy pastor Paula White, who thinks where she stands is holy, tells the president that he's just like Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't mean to dump on her, but I just don't think she's as helpful as he thinks she is. But I mean, that's his choice to make. But
yeah,
I don't, I don't have really.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't, like I said, I'm not following the religious people that are close to him.
Right.
Let me see. Sorry, but I'm going to respectfully push back on Pope Leo XIV criticizing Trump. Pope St. Pius X, when asked by the Austrian-Hungarian Empire to bless their war effort, he replied, "I do not bless arms but peace." Okay.
Yeah, no need to apologize.
Yeah, no, come on. We're just gonna block you. No, I'm just kidding.
These are legitimate disagreements. Or maybe it's not even a disagreement. It's
a different point. Yeah.
So, for example, and sometimes we get it wrong, right? Like a lot of people don't know that the bomb that the plane, Enola Gay, that carried the first atomic bomb on a Catholic population, which was also very bizarre. There's some nonsense stories with that. But you realize they said a mass right beside the plane before they went. There's also some stuff that's going to be morally ambiguous with the various Christian wars and various crusades and stuff. And also, you're right, Palermo. You can't find, and on most books of blessings, there's no blessings of arms. But that's a relatively brief thing. Like probably, around certainly Benedict the 15th. But there used to be. In fact, I have them somewhere.
They didn't bless the arms, but they didn't they?
Well, I blessed. Father Z does it too. There's a blessing for armaments and a blessing for armor.
But
they're ancient prayers, and but what I'm saying is that certainly in the last 100 years, there's very few popes that would be very keen on supporting one side of the war or the other. and that's perfectly fine, especially amongst Christians versus Christian, right? Which is definitely World War One. World War One probably cost the church so much, right?
Millions,
Like
millions of souls.
like in terms of its credibility too. The Christian was being so. It wasn't like regular warfare. I mean, regular warfare is bad enough, but this was like mustard gas and the
Trench
artillery
war.
and just so inhumane. And so I think that's part of the reason why in the latter years, as the weapons of war became more terrible, the church has said, well, this is the line. It's not like any killing is somehow, encouraged, all things being equal. But look at Saint James Matamoros, the tradition of that, right? Which they try to delete now. But there are times, and you can't tell me that John Soboski or Lepanto didn't have divine help.
Yeah.
Charlemagne probably did.
Joan of Arc, we talked about.
There were holy kings and holy emperors, and God helped them with military victory. Now, does that mean we should be warmongers? That we should convert by the sword? Absolutely not. They have to be defensive wars.
Yeah.
Where I would say, and I'm not an expert in this, okay? Like, no clergy is an expert in all things. And I mean, I have to study up and read up on things if I'm going to give a speech on stuff too. Well, one of them is, just war theology in the post 1945 era with atomic weapons. And then also there's certain things that are even worse than that. Like, for example, blanket censorship. If the faith is going to be made illegal, at what point is it a moral duty to rise up? Right? So it is interesting. These are questions again. Holy people are going to disagree on this stuff. This is one of these areas that, yes, there's papal teaching for. There's also different traditions, and yet at the end of the day, unless it's defined de fide, we certainly can all agree you can't kill innocents. You can't have as your target. So when you look at Dresden and Hiroshima, they're morally a problem, right? For Catholics to have participated in.
Yeah, no,
right.
I've tried to be understanding of the bomb, and I don't know. That's one thing that I just can't get behind, I think. And again, it's funny. I've learned so much in the past few years about what really happened, or what potentially really happened, I should say. Who knew what to cause certain things to allow to happen. I'm trying to be as vague as possible, but as obvious as possible at the same time. But for them to drop a bomb, and they chose Hiroshima, they chose a place with a high Catholic population. That stuff is not an accident, and therefore, and again, like, just for the extra sugar, cherry on top, wasn't that like the church? Like, nothing happened to the church. Everything, all the damage happened around it, or something like that. I think there was kind of a miracle that happened on the site where the bomb dropped. Like, it almost fell directly on top of the church.
That's right. The buildings, the church itself, that were the people, the faithful were gathered, was preserved for the most part.
Preserved for the most part.
But Palermo's right on. When Benedict XV would say it was an evil and useless massacre, that has got to be one of the more. I mean, all war is bad, right?
Yeah.
But that has got to be one of the most evil wars, because again, the gas and it was horrific. It was worse than World War II as far as years the trench lines wouldn't move.
It's a war of pointless escalation.
Absolutely.
It was a war of pointless escalation. You got
and what would you win at the end? Like, it was stupid.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's not true, Father. World War I, what we won from that was World War II. So,
right.
I mean,
absolutely.
Hey,
what a prize, right?
Yeah, right. That's what we got for our efforts. Yeah. So let me see. He was talking about Trump. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think. It was all right. I think Trump was confirmed in his mother's Presbyterian church. She was of Scottish ancestry, and
right.
became Presbyterian.
Yeah. I think Palermo's right actually on that one, because I think I remember that now.
To add to the Trump and Iran criticism, I think it was when Trump said he was going to destroy Iranian civilization. That comment is what got criticized. Going after military targets is different. Ooh, so true.
Absolutely. That, I mean, if he meant it, then that's really bad, right? That's really bad. I mean, that's a short guy with a short mustache bad, right?
That's chalk it up to the
Yeah.
pro great AC argument.
I just,
He's
people can't understand. Well, they'd say to someone like me, like, well, why wouldn't you just walk? Because he's hyperbolic. I mean, it's just, I'm so used to it too, right? Like, he says this crazy stuff. The thing
Rocket
is,
Man.
I think in some respects, he's a bit of, sometimes when people are soft in certain areas, they overcompensate with bluster. I bet you he would be very, very compassionate with a bombed out Iranian family. I think it would mess up with his head really bad, and I think he knows it, and so he overcompensates with his bluster. I don't mean to be too much armchair psychologist with him,
Yeah,
but I have seen it before, and even myself, I go over the top with certain things to avoid my weak spot. I don't want to be taken advantage of, because if I like you, I'm a pushover. So this is so I have to protect the church from myself. I have to, like, for example, certain things, I always make sure senior clergy have to agree with me. I don't need them to, but I do that because I know if I really like somebody, I'll do everything I can for them. So I like to see the good in people. So I gotta protect, my office from my own weaknesses, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I can like this is I don't envy that struggle because that is a very dangerous game. All right, and I think especially because now we're talking about spiritual matters and letting if you let and I'm just kind of guessing here, but if you let the wrong you let your weaknesses sink into that, like you're affecting. Theoretically,
Yeah.
it's affecting like the people around you like pretty directly. Let me see. But yeah, I actually kind of agree a little bit more with Palermo. I'm definitely not pro Trump. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in the nuclear Iran. I don't believe in that stuff. I think we've been sold that line. Netanyahu's been saying
Well,
that.
you
Like
can
you
take
can
it
find
from
that
there,
clip.
but actually, if you guys are going to hold to that, I just asked you to look up Aminejad. Look up his
Oh,
speech at the UN.
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. I remember Mahmoud.
Yeah, well, he was a character.
He was a character. He was pretty interesting. He was like George Bush of
yeah.
Iran in a way.
I wonder whatever happened to him. I wonder whether he
He
survived
got
this whole
fired.
war. So, actually, he might have passed away from a health thing.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he got fired. He got
Well, you go to the next comment. I'll look up. He did get
I'm
fired, but I wonder what happened to him.
well, I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up too. All right, yeah, I'll go to the next comment while you look. All right, let me see. So I think that is the context of the criticism from my view. I think you're like I said, Palermo, I'm kind of on your side. What do you got?
He's still alive. He is still a member of one of their governing councils.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to find out what happened, like why he stepped down.
He was the president between he was the president of Iran between 2005 and 2013. And
I have a problem believing anything about what's being said about these politicians because we got sold a bill of goods. Like we got told about Saddam Hussein, what we got told about Gaddafi, what we got like all that stuff. It always turns out to be a pack of lies. So it's like, if it's true, okay, great. You're justified. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop where we find out, oh, okay, actually, there was no real like 40,000 people slaughtered in the streets of Iran. Like, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. To be frank, I hope it's a lie because I'd rather that nobody died, But I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, there you go. Apparently, they tried to assassinate him in 28th of February 2026.
Really? Oh man.
Well, apparently he's still kicking. But yeah, get his speech. Will give you a lot of insight to what Iran publicly believes about what they want to do. So what I'm saying is, it wasn't just like someone said, "Oh, let's wake up and
Now
say
I'll
to
say
these
this
guys."
too.
Yeah,
So this is what I
like
this.
just get
Oh,
all the
sorry.
sides of the story. So, Catholic name. Okay, I'll let you read the comment as is
All
our
right.
custom.
Hold on. I actually have something here on Ahmadinejad.
Okay.
It said his. All right. So he stepped down from the presidency in 2013 after serving 2 consecutive terms. His departure marked the end of a divisive era as he was succeeded by the moderate cleric Hassan Rouhani, whose election signaled a public desire to move away from Ahmadinejad's confrontational policies and economic mismanagement.
There you go.
Yeah. And post presidency, he faced increasing estrangement from Iran's political establishment. He was disqualified from running for president in 2017, 2021, and 2024. He became a vocal critic of the regime, even paying tribute to Iran's former monarchy.
Wow. Well,
So this is actually pretty interesting, because the former monarchy, I think they're talking about like this is like before the installed Iranian government because this is what people do. This is the other part that we're not talking about. We're talking about an armed Iran. Like this is the same thing that happened in Iraq. Saddam was installed by us, by the U.S.
Well, I would argue. I agree with you there, but I would just say, like, most people agree that Saddam was actually a pretty good leader given his parameters.
Yeah. And I think his story, like they exaggerated, which is again, this ties into us now. They exaggerated the bad about him to like fuel the war machine, which I think is what's happening here. And again, like you can find clips ever since Netanyahu has been in office. He's always addressing the UN. Like you can find it year after year. Oh, Iran is 6 months away from having full nuclear capabilities, and then like that was like 1991.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or 94, whenever he came in. It's like, come on, man. And like, we can't fall for it. We can't keep falling for it. You know what I mean? I'd almost rather be wrong than fall for it again.
90% of this stuff, 90% of this stuff, I agree. Feel like the real reasons are not what they can disclose.
Yeah.
But in this case, we do have an apocalyptic death cult. But anyway, I don't know how imminent the threat was. It's a fair point to you guys both. Like, I mean, we don't have the info.
Yeah.
So just war theology would say, well, until you're sure, you can't risk the death of innocent, essentially. So McElroy is right. It doesn't satisfy the regular view of just war. I mean, he's right. We can't not say liberals are right when they're right.
No, we have to know.
And you guys got to understand my bias. I mean, my bias sometimes colors through, right? Like I'm an ex-naval officer. Our whole thing is for a willing foe in sea room, so I've got to watch my own stuff, right? But anyway, you want to read Palermo? We got to finish up our comments, Felix. We're going to keep everybody up to midnight.
I know, yeah. Well, actually, we got 2 more comments, and that's it. And they're both.
Oh, okay, good.
The term Catholic in name only actually goes back to Pope Leo XII in 1891 on the Rosary, saying it is said so many Catholics are Sinos, right? Or not a post-Vatican II term, as Bishop Meikle added. World War I, then World War II, and the faith in Europe was in trouble well before Vatican II.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with Palermo here. I'll let you read his comment, but I'll say right there, I'm 100% in agreement.
No, that was it. That's actually the end of it.
Oh, okay. So no, what I'm saying is that a lot of people, like well-meaning people, they want to go back to 1950 and they think that'll fix the church. I have nothing against 1950. Listen, it's a lot better than now, right? In a lot of ways, but it will not fix the church. And the reason being is somewhere, just like a computer virus, somewhere in the anthropology of Catholicism, the culture of Catholicism, we got more concerned with optic than faith. So we were more concerned about appearing a good Catholic and the esteem of man versus pleasing God. And that laid the groundwork for Vatican II, because Vatican II came rolling in and said, yeah, we're just going to please God, please man. God loves you. Don't worry about it. And it's like, oh my goodness, right? So I mean, that's the real problem. It's not so much. I mean, yes, we can go in the various documents on. Oh yeah, no, I knew Palermo. I knew.
Yeah, yeah. I said the minute I said it, I was like,
but
12? But yeah.
no, but so the thing is that you know, it wasn't so much. There's theological difference, and there's whole books. There's huge books written about the problems of the theology of Vatican II. But the bigger wound was actually not what they wrote. It's what they affirmed in terms of anthropological telos. So I don't mean to give you, like a $9 word, but I just mean that the direction of the culture was, it felt liberated to be free of tradition. Well, how can that be of God? Right? Like, so I mean, when they shut off Giovanni's microphone and they laughed at him, and even if they were to disagree with him, he was a lighthouse, a beacon in the church. And so, I mean, the thing is that I'm, it's funny because when I say I don't want to go back to 1950, I get people mad at me. But it's like, no, I don't mean that I don't like the old styles and stuff. It's just that the rot was already so progressed there that that's not where we'd have to go back and change. So it's interesting, Palermo, what you might have a different guess when the real divergence came. Almost everybody says, if they're not going to say the 60s, they say the Enlightenment. But, or, I mean, there's a couple different spots. Like, when you look at Pascendi and then you compare it to Vatican II, I mean, what did we do? We basically took it and made it a how-to manual, how to be a heretic in the Christian church. And we ran with it in the 60s. And it's funny, if you can get people to read old books, they have this epiphany and they're like, holy mackerel, I had no idea. And that's why I always say, you got to read old books. You can't unsee. And it works for Protestants too. This is what a lot of people don't realize. It's the enemy attacked everybody. So if you go to your Baptist friend or Presbyterian friend and say, read something from your own tradition, say 1920, of a spiritual or theological nature, and most of the time they'll come back and say, holy mackerel, wow, I had no idea. Exactly. So it's the same with the Catholics, the great Catholic authors and the reflections on the liturgy and just the old saints. I mean, Alphonsus on the fewness of the saved drives people's heads to explode, right? So it's amazing, the beautiful gift of our faith. And when they come out with the fuzzy guitars and the ukuleles and stuff, it does not do our faith credit. And I don't mean to be mean to people that's their experience at church, but it's like we can't defile our gift that we receive from God. So, are we all done, Felix?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to close with a prayer, guys. I kept you a little late tonight, and I got an early morning tomorrow.
It was a good show.
Some of you do too. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. God, our Father, we praise and thank you for your gifts. Thank you for this time together. Help us to remember to pray for those with whom we have disagreement, and especially those with whom we dislike. We pray for the restoration of your holy church under a holy Catholic Pope, that we all recognize and bring every group from Orthodox, Protestant, non-denominational to a true ecumenism under the social kingship of Jesus Christ the King and your holy vicar. And we ask, dear Lord, to always incline our hearts to your holy will. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. God bless and protect you. I will see you next week, and looking forward to it. And if any of you want to see the Rubio thing, want us to talk about that, because it's sort of hopeful, let me know, and maybe I'll put up a poll like I did last week. Okay, God bless you.
God bless everyone.